things are getting very scary because people have now put together that both Rihanna and Nicki Minaj's homes in California have both been targeted recently.
In all of these situations, it's only the artist that's losing. Somebody makes big money. When these rappers get killed.
LAPD taking over the street where shots were fired at singer Rihanna's home Sunday afternoon. You can see the bullet holes on the gates and investigators placing markers on an Airstream trailer parked inside. Police say the shots came from an AR-15.
On March 8, 2026, a woman named Ivana Ortiz pulled up outside Rihanna's Beverly Hills home with a high-powered rifle and let off somewhere between 7 and 10 shots toward the property while Rihanna and her 3 kids were inside. It sounds unreal, right? Somehow, no one was physically hurt, which is honestly the only good part in all of this. Right after it happened, the official story came out fast and clean. They said she was just a crazy fan caught up in a parasocial obsession. Case closed, nothing more to see. And if you check the news, you probably saw clips from Ivana's social media. No lie, she does come across unstable in those videos. Ivana was calling Rihanna a witch and the devil, going off about how Rihanna was jealous of her and just saying things that made people raise eyebrows. But is that really the full story, or is that just the version people are being pushed to believe? Because once you start digging even a little deeper, the obsessed fan narrative starts to crack, and now people are bringing up things that don't quite add up. That interview with Katt Williams is making rounds again, and people are saying he already tried to warn everyone about situations like this. He's been saying for years that when celebrities suddenly pass away under strange circumstances, it's not always random, and that powerful people could be benefiting behind the scenes. That idea has people asking a serious question now. Who would actually gain anything if something bad happened to Rihanna? One theory picking up steam online brings up Live Nation, and it's got people talking. Apparently, Ivana Ortiz has an active legal case involving Live Nation, which adds a whole new layer to the story. Now, how does Rihanna fit into that? This is where things get a bit shaky, but some people online are connecting dots anyway. They're pointing out that Rihanna is signed to Roc Nation, and her past connection with Jay-Z has always been a topic people revisit.
Somebody made $100 million and now don't have to talk to that artist or none of their crew, don't have to validate none of their contracts. Now only got to deal with the mama, only got to see her once a year, and it's over. And the money goes up and up and up. So they killed this $20 million guy, but they reaped $60 million in benefits. Wow. And they had some people from your city do it.
Back in 2008, Jay-Z teamed up with Live Nation to launch Roc Nation as a joint venture, meaning Live Nation sits as the parent company while Roc Nation runs under it. Rihanna is still tied to Roc Nation for both management and label deals, and even her touring agreements have been handled through Roc Nation's leadership, which keeps everything linked in a way that has people raising eyebrows. Desiree Perez is now stepping into the spotlight too, and this is where things start getting even more intense. She's expected to testify as a defense witness for Live Nation in their ongoing antitrust trial, which is already a huge case on its own. For context, the Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against Live Nation back in 2024, trying to force a split from Ticketmaster, arguing the company has too much control over the market and pushes prices up while limiting competition. When a case like this goes to trial, both sides bring in their key witnesses, and Live Nation's legal team made sure to include Desiree Perez on their list. That's not random at all. She's the CEO of Roc Nation and has personally worked out major touring deals between Roc Nation artists, including Rihanna and Live Nation over the years, which makes her a powerful voice in this situation.
Listen, Rihanna, when you die, God is taking me to my future. You want to kill me. Shut the up, okay? Shut the up. Yeah, she's a witch. She's a witch. I'm a watchman. She's a witch. Get that stupid girl out of here, okay? They can't do this. They can't do this.
Now bring it back to the woman who showed up at Rihanna's home. She's reportedly in an ongoing legal dispute with Live Nation, the same company connected to Roc Nation. And Roc Nation EO Desiree Perez is literally preparing to speak in defense of Live Nation in court, while also being closely tied to Rihanna's business deals. These links aren't just rumors floating online, they're connections that show up in official federal court records, which is exactly why people are looking at this whole situation a lot more closely now. And now comes the big question: why? Why is this woman, who people say just suddenly snapped and targeted Rihanna, already tied up in a legal fight with the same corporation connected to Rihanna's tours? That timing has people seriously confused. And look at the details for a second. Ortiz didn't pull up in some worn-out car with cheap equipment. Reports say she arrived in a white Tesla and had access to a high-powered rifle, which definitely isn't cheap. That's not small money at all. So if she was just someone struggling on her own, how did she afford all of this? Where did those resources come from? Who was backing this, if anyone? Then things get even more confusing when you look at the timeline. On March 9th, when Ortiz was first arrested, multiple major news outlets reported her bail was set at $10.2 million. That number alone had people shocked. But then, just one day later, when she appeared in court on March 10th, the official statement from the LA County District Attorney listed her bail at $1.875 million instead. That sudden drop has people questioning what really changed behind the scenes. Multiple news outlets repeated those numbers right after the court appearance, and then CNN came out days later reporting the $1.8 million figure instead. So what actually happened here? Either the early reports got corrected once official documents came out, or the bail really was reduced behind the scenes. And if it really dropped from $10.2 million to $1.8 million, that's a huge difference that people aren't just going to ignore.
People are alleging is Rihanna is a key material witness into this whole trafficking scheme or plot or whatever that Roc Nation and Jay-Z himself have been carrying.
That kind of shift has people asking what changed in such a short time window. What happened in those 24 hours that could explain such a major adjustment? With all these strange details stacking up, social media has been going off with theories and speculation. Some users are even claiming Ivana Ortiz might have been set up as a patsy. One post on X said Ivana Ortiz is the patsy in the Rihanna incident, saying there's no way someone could get that close to a high-profile celebrity's home with kids inside without big effectors involved. Others are using wild phrases like Hollywood Tesla Manchurian candidate to describe the situation. Now, to be clear, these are just online claims and not proven facts, but people are running with the idea that Ortiz may have been chosen because of her unstable public behavior, suggesting someone like that could be easier to manipulate or overlook, especially if they already have a history of legal issues connected to the same corporation being discussed. And this is where Katt Williams comes back into the conversation with one of his most talked about ideas. He's been saying for a while that nothing in the industry just happens by accident, and that what people see on the surface is sometimes meant to distract from what's really going on underneath. According to him, the public sees someone acting unstable and quickly moves on, while anyone else involved stays completely out of sight.
I'm saying that everything that happens in a business that's based off of pretend that seems like a setup is. In business, nothing is coincidental, or you will be hearing who's losing money. In all of these situations, it's only the artist that's losing. Somebody makes big money. When these rappers get killed, not incidental.
So yes, Ivana Ortiz may have been the one who carried out the act, but people are asking a deeper question. Who, if anyone, guided her toward Rihanna's home in the first place? How did she even get that level of information? Those questions are exactly why more theories keep popping up online. One of the biggest ones making rounds right now brings up the Epstein files. If you've been on social media lately, you've probably seen names being mentioned all over again. Back in January 2026, a massive batch of Epstein-related documents was released, and it caused a wave of reactions online. During that chaos, Jay-Z's name started trending again, tied to discussions about an FBI hotline report from 2019. Now, it's important to note that these are online discussions and claims, not confirmed conclusions, but that hasn't stopped people from connecting dots and pushing the conversation even further. An anonymous tip was reportedly called in to the FBI, and that tip mentioned Jay-Z, which instantly got people paying attention. Now, people online are trying to connect everything together, piece by piece, and it's turning into a whole web of speculation. Here's how they're laying it out. Rihanna is signed to Roc Nation. Roc Nation was founded by Jay-Z, and it operates under Live Nation as a subsidiary. That same Live Nation is the company Ivana Ortiz reportedly had a legal issue with last year. And on top of that, Desiree Perez, the CEO of Roc Nation, has been involved in negotiating Rihanna's touring deals and is also listed as a defense witness in the government's antitrust case against Live Nation. So people are asking, if a major corporation is dealing with a serious federal case, would they want one of their biggest artists caught up in waves of rumors and controversy? Or would they want to keep everything as controlled as possible and avoid extra attention? Those are the kinds of questions being pushed across social media right now. At the same time, it's important to keep this grounded in facts. These are all theories and online claims, not confirmed truths. Some posts even go further, bringing up Rihanna's early career, saying she was brought from Barbados to New York at 16 and quickly signed to Roc Nation. But those claims are often debated, and there's no verified evidence supporting the more extreme versions being shared, even if people keep repeating them online.
That's why you got Rihanna over there all jealous, because how am I, because her faith is the devil. Rihanna's faith is the devil, okay? I don't like her, and she's always trying to steal from me. And she has not ever put out any music to reach people. She only did her little music thing so that she can do witchcraft and so that she can steal from people. So everybody, please don't listen to her. Don't follow her. Don't give that girl any air, space, or time, because she's stealing from you.
With all of that being said, the situation is still far from clear, and that's what keeps people locked in. There are official reports, court records, and confirmed connections, but then there's this whole other layer of online theories that keeps growing by the day. Some people are focused strictly on the facts, saying this was an isolated incident involving someone dealing with serious personal issues. Others are not convinced at all and keep pointing back to the timing, the legal connections, and the sudden changes in key details that don't feel easy to explain. That contrast is exactly why this story hasn't faded out. What really stands out is how fast the narrative formed and how quickly people either accepted it or started questioning it. In situations like this, once a label gets attached, it tends to stick, even if new information starts coming out later. That's why every small detail, from legal filings to public statements, is now being picked apart online. At the end of the day, there's still a lot we don't know. And until more verified information comes out, everything beyond the confirmed facts stays in the category of speculation, no matter how convincing it might sound. And now, people are watching closely to see what happens next, because this story is still developing and could shift at any moment. Court updates, official statements, and any new evidence could completely change how this situation is understood. One thing that keeps coming up is whether more details about Ivana Ortiz's background, her legal situation, or her connections will be made public. If that information starts coming out, it could either support the current explanation or raise even more questions that people won't ignore. At the same time, attention is also on the bigger picture. The Live Nation antitrust case is still ongoing, and with major figures involved, anything tied to it is going to be heavily watched. That's why some people believe this situation could gain even more attention depending on how those legal proceedings unfold. For now, everything is sitting in a tense spot between confirmed facts and online speculation. People are analyzing every detail, every timeline shift, and every connection, trying to figure out what's real and what's just noise. And until something concrete comes out, the conversation isn't slowing down anytime soon. And one more thing people keep bringing up is how stories like this tend to evolve over time. What seems clear in the first few days can look completely different weeks later once more details come out. That's why some are warning not to lock in one version of the story too quickly. There's also a growing conversation about how fast social media can shape public opinion. One viral clip or post can push a certain narrative, and suddenly millions of people are repeating it without checking where it started. That's exactly how speculation can start to feel like fact, even when it's not confirmed. At the same time, others are pointing out that questioning details isn't the same as spreading misinformation. People want clarity, especially when there are unusual timelines, legal overlaps, and high-profile names involved. It's that mix of curiosity and uncertainty that keeps this topic trending. For now, the only solid ground is what's officially documented, and everything else stays in the realm of discussion and theory. But if there's one thing that's clear, it's that people are paying very close attention, and any new update could shift the entire conversation in an instant.
So when Rihanna was 16 years old, she flew across country, had a meeting with Jay-Z where he told her there's only two ways out of here, and that's through that door with the deal signed or through the window, and we're on the 29th floor. And she was 16 years old. I don't really see the humor in that.
Dad, I know I promised you I'm going to give you my first Grammy.
And as this keeps unfolding, one detail that shouldn't get lost is the seriousness of what actually happened. A situation like this could have ended in a much worse way, and the fact that no one was physically hurt is something people keep pointing out with relief. At the same time, there's a bigger conversation building around safety and how incidents like this are handled. People are asking how someone was able to get that close to a high-profile home and what changes might come from this moving forward. That part of the story is just as important as all the theories floating around. There's also growing attention on how quickly labels get placed on situations without the full picture. Once a narrative spreads, it can shape how everything else is interpreted, even before all the facts are confirmed. That's why some are urging others to wait for verified updates instead of jumping to conclusions. For now, this story sits in that uncomfortable space between what's known and what's being guessed. And until more official information comes out, people will keep watching, questioning, and trying to piece together what really happened behind the scenes. And as everything continues to play out, people are starting to look at how stories like this leave a long-term impact. It's not just about the headlines in the moment. It's about how it affects reputations, public trust, and the way future situations get handled. For Rihanna, this situation instantly pulled her name into a wave of attention that goes far beyond music or business. Even without being directly involved in any wrongdoing, being at the center of something this intense brings pressure, speculation, and non-stop public discussion. At the same time, this also shows how quickly narratives can spread and stick. One version of events can dominate early, while other details take time to surface, and by then, opinions are already formed. That's why people are watching closely to see if any new verified information shifts the story in a different direction. Right now, everything remains under a spotlight, and every update, no matter how small, is being tracked and analyzed. Until clearer answers come out, the mix of confirmed facts and online theories will keep this situation active and hard to ignore. And at this point, the biggest takeaway for a lot of people is just how many layers this situation seems to have. On the surface, it looks like a single incident involving one individual, but once you start stacking the legal ties, business connections, and timeline questions, it starts to feel a lot more complex. Still, it's important to separate what's confirmed from what's just talk online. The confirmed side includes the incident itself, the legal cases, and the documented business relationships. Everything beyond that, all the deeper motives and hidden agendas people keep bringing up, still sits in the category of speculation. That hasn't stopped the internet from digging though. People are analyzing interviews, court documents, and past headlines, trying to find anything that connects the dots in a bigger way. Some of those connections make sense on paper, while others feel like a stretch, but the conversation keeps growing either way.
But we might have to fight for this one.
She said she want to thank everybody for her first Grammy.
Anyway, I'd like to thank Jay-Z for being a part of this record with me.
She like to thank Jigga Man for being the greatest in the world.
Definitely a stronger sense of ego here, which could be in fact rooted by other things, which is probably why Jaguar Wright said, when are we going to come to the fact that Rihanna was the T word, Traffic.
For now, this situation remains open-ended, and that uncertainty is exactly what keeps people hooked. Until more verified facts come out, the line between reality and theory is gonna stay blurred, and people will keep watching closely for whatever comes next. And right now, everything comes down to what gets confirmed next, because that's what'll either clear things up or make the situation even more complicated. One official update, one verified document, or one court decision could shift the entire narrative in a second. People are especially watching to see if any new details come out about the legal cases tied to this story. If more information is released about timelines, connections, or decisions made behind the scenes, it could either support the current explanation or raise even more serious questions. At the same time, there's a growing awareness about how quickly assumptions can spread without solid proof. Some claims sound convincing at first, but without verification, they stay in the realm of speculation no matter how many times they're repeated. For now, this situation is still unfolding, and the attention around it isn't slowing down at all. Every new headline, every small update, and every official statement is being watched closely because people are trying to figure out what's real, what's exaggerated, and what might still be missing from the bigger picture. And as this story keeps unfolding, one thing is becoming very clear. People are not letting this go anytime soon. The mix of confirmed facts, unanswered questions, and viral theories has created a situation that keeps pulling attention back in again and again. There's also a growing focus on accountability and transparency. People want to understand how everything connects, what decisions were made, and whether the full story is actually being shared. That demand for clarity is only getting louder as more eyes stay locked on this situation. At the same time, others are reminding everyone to stay grounded and not jump too far ahead of the facts. It's easy for speculation to spiral, especially when big names and major companies are involved. But without solid proof, those ideas remain just that. Ideas. For now, this story is still active, still developing, and still being picked apart from every angle. And until something definitive comes out that answers the biggest questions, the conversation isn't cooling off at all. It's only getting more intense as people wait to see what happens next. And now, everything is at a point where the next update could change how this entire situation is viewed. Whether it's a court decision, a public statement, or new verified information, people are waiting for something solid to finally bring clarity. What keeps this story alive is the mix of what's confirmed and what still doesn't have clear answers. The incident itself is real, the legal connections are documented, but the bigger why is still what people are trying to figure out. That gap is exactly where all the speculation keeps growing.
There's also a noticeable shift in how people are reacting now. At first, many accepted the simple explanation, but as more details surfaced, more people started questioning things and looking deeper into the timeline and connections. For now, the spotlight isn't going anywhere. Every detail is being watched, every update is being analyzed, and every new piece of information has the potential to flip the narrative completely. Until something definitive comes out, this situation stays wide open, and people are staying tuned to see how it all unfolds. And at this stage, the biggest tension comes from the gap between what's been confirmed and what people feel is still missing. That gap is exactly what keeps the conversation alive and constantly evolving. Some are sticking firmly to the official reports and waiting for the legal process to play out, while others are still questioning the timeline, the connections, and the sudden shifts in key details. That split in how people see the situation is what keeps it trending and heavily debated. There's also a growing awareness of how powerful narratives can be, especially when they form early. Once a certain version of events takes hold, it can shape public opinion fast, even before all the facts are fully available. That's why some are urging caution and patience as more verified information comes out. For now, everything remains under intense attention. The facts, the theories, and every small update are all being examined closely. And until something more definitive is revealed, this situation stays unresolved, with people continuing to watch, question, and wait for answers that could change everything. So once again, people keep coming back to the same big questions. How does Ivana Ortiz, described as a speech pathologist from Florida, have the resources to travel across the country in a Tesla and show up with that kind of equipment? That alone has people confused. And then there's the detail about stopping at the gate instead of trying to go further. Was this meant to send a message instead of causing something worse? And if that's the case, then the question gets even deeper. Who actually benefits from all of this? If fear or pressure was the goal, who gains from that outcome? These are the kinds of questions that still don't have clear answers right now. At the same time, it's only fair to say that some people believe this could simply be an isolated situation involving someone dealing with serious personal issues. That possibility is still on the table. But with everything happening in the world and so many past controversies being brought up again, a lot of people are finding it harder to just accept things at face value. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Ivana Ortiz was acting alone, or do you believe there's something bigger happening behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and stay locked in for the next video.